Hi everyone, and welcome to the last installment of my Bolt Escape guide. It's going to be mostly information, no frills, not a lot of visual aids, but it's some important information and it helps sew together everything we've been talking about so that you can finally apply the information and use it to have superior mobility in Cyrodiil. Also helps to escape those blobby, zergy, charge humping situations where you would normally automatically be dead. The first thing I want to talk about is mouse free look. It is an important tool for the breakaway stage, and we'll talk about that later. It's basically a way for you to scout out the numbers on your enemy and information about your enemy without actually stopping. So you're going to go to escape, you're going to go to controls, and you're going to check and make sure that your auto run actually has a mouse button. It's default and unlock usually. And then you're going to scroll down to your camera and make sure that your mouse free look has a button. So this is a sort of a modifier button. While it's held down, it changes the way that the game works. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to numlock so that we're automatically moving without our WASD, but we don't have to do that. We can actually hold down a directional and use the mouse free look. I just find it to be easier if I'm auto running. Then we're going to hold down the mouse free look button, and you see that we run the direction that we were originally auto running, or the direction we're pointing. And when we let it go, we want to wait till it completely turns around before we give it any other direction input. But this allows me to turn around as I'm running, and I can weapon swap like normal, do my skills. I can even sprint. You want to be careful bolting, because you can see here it kind of hiccups and does weird things, but we can maintain a good speed and check what's behind us, count our enemies, check to see if they have stat sustain issues, things like that. It's very important for the later stages of running after you've already broken away from the group. It can be used offensively, but it's a little hiccupy. Anything instant cast will automatically work. See, I can curse that guy and keep going. And anything in the side arc generally does fine. Let me see if I can set up a side arc. Well, he's not cooperating. We'll just reset it. So anyway, instant cast abilities work a lot better. So let me show you that real quick. You saw the curse and how easily it went off. You know, a lot of sorts run dual wield, so we'll show the shadow skill, or this little spider skill. So we've got our numlock on, and you can see here we can just pummel this guy. And now he's snared, and we didn't lose any speed for it. Very, very useful. You can pretty much like shadow silk a bunch of people following you using that method. So here, like shadow silk that guy, shadow silk that guy, and then we're free to get the hell out. So, that's an example of mouse free look and the kind of things you can do with it. Your instant cast crystal frags is a little hitchy. You're pretty much only going to be able to do it in the side strafe arc. If you're facing away from them and mouse free looking, it just won't work. You can mash it a billion times and it just won't go off. So that's that, and that's how you use it. The next thing I want to show you is skip jumping. And basically what a skip jump is a way to maintain your speed downhill and open access to skills while sprinting. But the reason I'm showing the sorcerer, it actually doesn't have a lot of benefit for a magic sorcerer. It has really good use for stamina sorcerer, but you need to know what people are capable of moving downhill. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to get a fast movement speed going, and then right as you land, jump again. And there's a timing issue here. You basically want to push the jump right as the right as you land, like almost like skipping a stone. The reason it's not so great for a Magicka base class is because you have limited stamina usage. and you also have a smaller speed. So you can see how I'm really ramping up speed. Okay, I screwed it up right there. Anyway, the benefit of this skip jump is you're not paying for your sprint. See, right now you can see my stamina bar is getting chunked. I'm moving relatively fast. I jump and I let off the sprint, and it's just going back up again. And here I go. I'm going so fast that I'm killing myself off the falling damage. Now there is a max speed to this, and it's a lot easier to achieve, and you just saw what happens when you break it. The game gets confused and goes, wait, you're moving too fast, I'm putting you back. You can use this as a juke if somebody is really close to you. You can break the max speed and teleport behind them using the game's weird glitch in your favor. It's a lot easier to achieve on a stamina build because you have a higher max speed than a magicka build. So just a little bit of practice and you'll be able to use this maneuver yourself. It's useful for stat sustain and maintaining your speed downhill. But the most important thing about it is that stamina builds chasing you will be using this, and they will be better at it than you are. Which brings me to my first point. Don't run downhill. We don't run downhill for a lot of reasons. First, we've got this dead drop every time we bolt. That time is massive lost time, and the further downhill we go, the worse it gets. So if you have stamina builds on your ass, skip jumping, and you're bolting downhill, you're wasting your mana. They will catch up to you. And by the same merit, we don't want to run uphill either, because these hills act as a wall and they shorten our bolt. We lose about 5 meters every bolt while bolting uphill. So if at all possible, and you have a choice, run parallel with the hills so that you have the full extent of your bolt and you do not lose any time with that dead fall. If you find yourself forced to run downhill, then use the skip jump yourself. They'll be using it and they'll be using it better than you, but at least you won't be completely outclassed and foobarred. You know, don't bolt, just skip and hope you don't screw it up like I just did. Ping will definitely affect this tactic. If you've got bad ping, you will not be able to perform this. But you know, it's just something that you can practice. Like I said, it's very common for stamina builds to use that to run you down. So let's move into common chase mechanics. So basically, this is going to break down into the keeping up and catching up section. Originally, your first break free, let me use a different term so you don't get confused with the actual break free mechanic. Your first break away from an aggressive group, it has to be well timed. You want to get that lead. When somebody's on you up close, you want to make sure that you get that quick lead and get out of gap closing. Now you can use the tools that we talked about before, C-bolting, bolt humping, things like that to get that lead. But there's going to be a lot of mechanics that people are going to be using to keep you from breaking away. Mostly those are range CCs like Petrify, Javelin. There's a whole list of range CCs. Gap closers, and the ultimate ice common, and generally snares. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more in depth about how to counter it. Now, first of all, just snares and binds in general, the easiest way to counter them is with the skill shuffle, but as a magicka sork, you have to be really careful incorporating stamina abilities into your kit. Another one, again, a stamina ability, is retreating maneuvers. This one's a little bit easier to incorporate. You can take a CC break, and then the moment that your regen ticks up enough for retreating, which will be before your CC break immunity wears off, you can pop that rapids and know that you have a couple of seconds to break away, and all the binds in the world aren't going to stop you from, you know, getting that little lead you need. The most effective way to break away is through your streak CC. So normally when you get caught, see, this is basically what people are going to do with those gap closers. They're going to soft target you, and then they're going to spam the crap out of them. When you feel that hiccup of movement when you first get caught with a gap closer, do not panic. If you panic, you're dead. Recognize what's happening. Someone caught you with a gap closer, and that definitely means that someone else in their group will catch you with a gap closer. If you're mindful of what you're fighting, you can even know exactly how many gap closers are about to cascade down on you. What you need to do is maintain your shields and buffs as you move backwards into the charge. The moment that your movement is freed, you will move behind the charger, and you can then bolt, dodge, roll, bolt, bolt, and that will give you the lead you need. They will be CC'd by your first streak. You can also do the same thing with side movement or terrain. You basically want to collect all the chargers together before you make your breakaway. They're just basically mashing their charge button, and if you move in a linear way as fast as you can, all you're doing is dumping your stats and leading them on. You want to collect them all together first, then try to CC them all as you make your breakaway. Once you have that breakaway, you're then going to move into catching up. This is the point at which they will try everything they can to get back up to you, get you back in charge range, and do that soft target gap closing hump to keep you close. At this point, it's not even a fight anymore. So you can expect range CC spam, ranged binds, ranged snares, things like flying blade, crippling grasp. The worst of them all is probably Ice Comet. You really want to watch out for the Ice Comet. It's a great tool for keeping a Sork from breaking away in the initial burst. It's also a great tool for making a Sork slow down so your group can catch up to them. The problem with it is that it has very glitchy timing on dodge rolling it, which makes you forced to stop and block it. And you can see how slow I move when I stop to block. Now, the decision that I'm left with when I hear Ice Comet come down is, when do I block? How long do I wait? If I wait too long, then I won't get my block up in time, and the CC will hit me, especially if there's any kind of server lag, which is what makes dodge rolling it so risky. Any kind of server lag at all, the window to dodge roll it is so paper thin that any kind of lag at all, and you will get bounced up into the air, and that's terrible. So you wait to the last possible second and block it, and then the best thing to do after that is to bolt out of it. Once you bolt out of it, you will still have about 3 seconds of snare. You want to get rid of that snare. Now for me, it's real easy. I just push shuffle and I keep going. You might not have shuffle on your bar. If you don't, you're just going to have to wait it out. And they will catch back up to you, but just use the same tools. Use your WASD movement to keep the close fight, manage your shields really well, and then choose your breakaway moment. Just because they caught you again doesn't mean you can't get free again. But it's that snare that makes Ice Comet, both the pause for blocking and the snare, that make Ice Comet so dangerous. So generally what you want to do is get that lead, get the breakaway, time your breakaway, and start moving, not uphill, not downhill, across the fields. Look for terrain and try to maintain that lead. Whenever you get a good lead on, use your movement speed boosts and sprinting and jumping to keep your stats high. Every 4 seconds, do a double bolt. This will maintain your speed. I mentioned in the first video that you can double bolt without too much stat problems. Now you can see here that I'm moving across the countryside pretty quickly, and I'm not really dumping any stat. I'm keeping them both high because I'm using them both. A little bit of sprint, a little bit of double bolt. That's how you maintain your speed. If you want to check to see what's going on behind you, use the mouse free look. That's how you maintain your lead. Any opportunity that you get, you come across terrain that you can use that terrain. Every bit of terrain in Cyrodiil is it's really similar. You can find this rock formation right here about 1 billion places in Cyrodiil, and if you can learn the properties of these rocks, you can use them to peel for you and make the enemy not know where you're going. Okay, so now we're in this stage. We've left the group behind. We don't want to completely leave them behind because we do want to fight them. We just don't want to fight them on unfair terms. So we're dragging them out. We're going to use mouse freelurk to keep tabs on them, but know that they are going to be keeping tabs on us with soft target. The only way to break soft target is through cloaking, and we all know how buggy that can be, and then through invisibility pots. That's another way that we can do it. Make sure that you're not marked when you use these, and I'm not going to tell you any tips about where to go because I don't want you to be predictable. Use your own judgment call. You've got some time. Generally, this invisibility pot is something you use whenever you identify that a group is a chasing Zerg. Basically, there's somebody you don't want to fight. It's a great way to peel them, but it can also be used against a group that you do want to hunt, just to make sure that they don't have you soft targeted and they're not looking at you through 3 mountains and tracking where you go. Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about is pill skills. So these are skills like Daedric Mines and Volcanic Rune, things that are going to put ground terrain down. Caltrops is a good example, and what you want to do with these is falter enemies from full out chasing you. You want to stagger their movement any way possible. So you're thinking about what's behind you. Now, if I bolt through here, in order for people to follow me at the same pace that I'm going, they're going to have to come through here or go around the terrain. If I drop mines down the moment that I bolt through this thing, if I bolt through and drop mines down, then they see those mines and they have to choose, do I go through the mines and get slowed down, or do I go around the terrain? That's the power of Daedric Mines when you're running. That's the power of Volcanic Rune when you're running. You're basically controlling their path. You get to choose which way they follow you. Now, they can try to blow through the mines with dodge rolls, but if they do that, you're going to be checking them up with mouse freelurk, and you could just, turn Meteor Drop, Shadow Silk, blow somebody up because they were the forerunner and they decided to run through 5 of your mines. So you can definitely punish them if they choose to ignore your mines. But more importantly, you're using those mines to extend terrain, so now they have to run around these things. And that's pretty much the way that you're going to use that. Let me show you an example of the advantages of Volcanic Rune if you do have that on your bar. The great thing about Volcanic Rune is that you can prep it. So I can throw it way over there, and now it's already set up, it's already primed by the time I go through it. Another thing that I can do with Volcanic Rune is I can peel the charges. Let's say I get hit with a charge cascade. Well, I can prep that down as I back up, then bolt through when they all get busted in the air and get my lead back up. So that's pretty much it for this this style of movement. You want to think in terms of breaking away from the group and then maintaining your lead. Use all the tools appropriate and available to you to maintain that lead. Now, there are other really fun skills. You see me using a bow. I use a bow because I do a lot of field running, and the superior movement of Magnum Shot is the main reason that I use it. I can basically take no falling damage whatsoever if I use my bow correctly. So right here, if I were to jump off this cliff, I'd take a good bit of damage, but if I Magnum Shot backwards off this cliff, not only will I goad a lot of people to jump once they see that I don't die, and they'll get wrecked by the falling damage, but I won't take any falling damage from this this knockback, this little bounce that I do. So that's generally why I use it, not to mention that when I dodge roll to position out of a bind, I can Magnum off of them and then line up a cleaner bolt and really just navigate the terrain exceptionally. It's a pretty large investment to decide to go bow on a magical sword, so I can see why you wouldn't want to use it if you don't. But it's a lot of fun in the hills to use that magnum shot to outposition people. You know, somebody charges you on the edge and then boop, you're off, you take no damage, and you're lined up for another bolt. And that's just, it's just really fun. I mean, let's be honest, it's just fun. This build I'm running, it can easily transition into your typical destro or dual wield setup. I just like having those tools. Now, I mentioned a lot of stamina abilities. Generally, you can see how I have very high stamina recovery. That's just because a lot of the counters that people use for Sorcerer are stamina based. They try to run you out of stamina, and I like the mobility of having a high stamina recovery. It allows me to sort of spec into more stamina skills, but you don't need it to be as high as all this. One thing that you can do is, if you've got your typical 5 Kagraneks or 5 Julianos set up with your 3 willpower and your 1 Kina and your 2 Torog swords, one thing that you can do, instead of going sort of the 3 Archmage route, you can get a Bloodspot helmet. And actually, I don't think I have one of those on me, but anyway, it's a way to get some easy stam regen, and that will generally kick your stam regen up just enough to actually run one cheaper skill like Shuffle. And at the end of the day, when you add a 20% miss chance to all your shields, it's absolutely worth it if you can make room for it. So it's just used to purge all binds and snares. It won't last very long, but it will last long enough for you to shed and get away. The last thing to talk about is, we talked about the boomerang bolt, but you also can just use bolt dodge roll pretty effectively. It's a great way to, we talked about bolt escape being a 15-meter bolt. That's not enough. When you combine bolt and dodge roll with a second bolt, you're absolutely, in a very short amount of time, outpacing your gap closers. So don't be afraid to use that. And in kicking up your stam regen is not a bad call if you can do it without losing too much offense, because it will make the difference on these getaways. And that pretty much is it. With all these tools, if you can lace them together and practice them, you should be able to do a lot better at shedding all of those zergs. Just remember that you've got to break away, then maintain that lead. As long as you're thinking in those terms, you can really outplay a lot of people in these fills and these hills. Have fun in Cyrodiil, and thanks for watching my guides.